So Joe Mazzulla getting that contract extension. We spent some time this offseason sort of talking about that. I think this is certainly a good thing long-term for the Boston Celtics. Joe Mazzulla having that security here moving forward, should have that security, to be totally honest. I don't think you should ever have a coach where it's in question about his future in the contract situation, because quite frankly, if you're an NBA organization and of the stature of the Boston Celtics, moving on from a coach, if you have to, that has salary remaining on his deal, shouldn't be an issue. So I would never want to put my coach in a position where there is that sort of hanging over the locker room. So big thing for the Celtics. Going to be an interesting season for Joe Mazzulla. This is going to be different than anything he's experienced so far in Boston, but I'm excited to see sort of how he kind of handles this.
No, I was going to say, especially this year. You can't have him go, and I don't think he was truly a lame duck. I believe there was some sort of option, right? He wasn't truly expiring, but essentially a lame duck coach. You can't have a lame duck coach in a year where you're hitting a reset. Like, that's not fair to him. That's not fair to anybody. Because if the team struggles, are there going to be calls for his job? How many questions is he going to get when he's working with less than? And we know he's working with less than this year with Tatum out, and they're trying to reset the luxury tax and all of that. So I think they had to make a decision. I know he drew some questions, and they were very fair questions after that playoff run. I never thought they were going to move on from him.
No.
But they had to do something. They couldn't just leave it going into this season, so an extension always made the most sense. The team's not going to announce the details. Maybe they get reported, but the team did say it's their policy not to announce details on contracts with coaches. But Joe's the guy. Joe's the guy, and I think getting him security through this year and next year as they reset and work their way, Tatum works his way back from the injury, that was important. It needed to be done. Good to get it done and get it done early. It's not lingering over them in camp or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, right decision, but yes, you've had two disappointing postseasons under this head coach as well, though. You go back to the Miami series, you had no business losing. You were the better team in that series. Obviously, Tatum gets hurt in the Game 7, but you never should have been in a situation where you were down 0-3 to that Miami team. You win the championship last year, and then obviously this past season, you've got the debacle against New York. And look, the Tatum injury, a huge factor, but you were going to be down 3-1 in that series, even with Jason Tatum. And that's not a position that Boston Celtics team, for as talented as they are, and even with all the Kristaps Porzingis stuff not breaking your way in terms of his health during that postseason run, you were the more talented team in that situation. You have a clip of Brad Stevens here, Milliken, from, like a month ago, talking about the contract situation. Let's listen to that.
Brad, has there been any discussion with Joe Mazzulla about a contract extension?
Joe and I, first of all, I'll keep any of those discussions in-house. But we've got Joe under contract for multiple years right now. And so we certainly want Joe to be around here for a long time.
Yeah, so that was the clip, and we had Holly in here, and I think Holly alluded to the fact that those were going to be team options for Mazzulla. So for himself, going in potentially in a lame duck year. What are your expectations for the Boston Celtics? I'm sure we're probably on different pages when it comes to this, but what do you have the Celtics at coming in this year, Barth?
I mean, I think anybody who thinks they're going to tank is just living in a fantasy world. Like, is Jaylen Brown still on the team?
Yes.
Derek White still on the team?
Mm-hmm.
You seen the rest of the East? They're gonna win 50 games. Like, and it might
50 games,
not 50, like
50 games,
45, 50. They're gonna be a top 6 seed in the East.
Barth, I think winning 50 games is almost as delusional here as when Zoe told us they were going to win, what was it, like 35 games last year?
Zoe said they were going to win 35 games last year?
Yes, he did some questionable math there when we were talking about the schedule.
So
yes.
I think 45 to 50. The 6th seed in the NBA
the Pacers, by the way, won 50 games last year.
The 6th seed in the East won 44 last year. I think they're going to be a top 6 seed in the East. And it's not necessarily about them. It's about the rest of the conference. Tim, who's beating them in the conference? They're still better than the majority of these teams.
Cleveland.
That's one.
New York. They just beat you with Jason Tatum last year.
I refuse to believe in the Knicks having any sort of sustained success. All right, so they split that season series. Fine.
I think Detroit.
Yeah, Detroit's good.
I think Orlando.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, the Pacers, I think, are going to take a step back. We'll see what Milwaukee winds up looking like here with Giannis.
That could be a little rough, too.
So I think you're probably in that play-in range, would be my guess, Philadelphia, I think, is going to be better this year, too. You
so
can make fun of me for that.
50 is probably the high end, but I think 45 to 50, somewhere in there. Because, again, there's just not a lot of talent in the East. Jaylen Brown and Derek White, if they're healthy, that's still one of the best duos in the Eastern Conference. Now, again, it might be a very fake 45 to 50 wins. It might be a very empty 45 to 50 wins.
So that's my question, right? Because you talk about tanking being delusional, right?
I don't think they're a real title contender.
Like, to me, what's the benefit of a season like that? That's what I would say.
What's the other option?
To strategically tank.
How are you going to do it? So you're going to
we saw it with Paul Pierce back in the day, right? All of a sudden, maybe in that second half, Jaylen Brown, not 100%.
Do you think Mazzulla's going to do that? Everything we know about Joe Mazzulla, do you think he has any intent of doing that?
This would be a discussion that goes above Joe Mazzulla, though.
You think Joe Mazzulla's going to be okay with that? You think Jaylen Brown's going to be okay with that? He's been the number 2 guy here for so long. Here's his chance to prove he can be a number 1, shut a lot of people up. And now for the team, he's got to do another sacrifice for Jason Tatum, give up half a year of that for some fake pulled hammy, get called soft for 3 months.
When you talk about the financial inflexibility that you're going to have moving forward with all the apron stuff, the best path forward in terms of adding an elite level talent would be to do the 1-year reset. It would be. Are they going to do it? No, I don't think they are. But I think that should be a discussion that they have.
I absolutely think it should be. I would love it if they could get in the lottery this year. I've compared, Tatum getting hurt to Brady in 2009, and you look at what they did, and it's football, so it's a little different because it's a bigger roster, but that 9, 10, and obviously they go to the Super Bowl in 11, but that window was a lot of moving on from the core from those first 3 Super Bowls, and then coming back with in that range. They had Slater, Edelman, Gronk, McCourty, Hightower. It
helps when you nail the draft the way that the Patriots certainly did.
But the point is, it went from Brady was the quarterback. Obviously, he was the face, but it was Tom Brady supported by a group of veterans, and then when Brady came back, he was the veteran leading a young team. That's what I want it to be with Tatum and Brown when Tatum comes back. So ideally, I'd love it if they could get in the lottery and do that. Unfortunately for them, the East sucks. If they're in the West, whole other conversation. I think the East is too bad, and I just don't think – I think Mazzulla's mentality, I think Jaylen Brown's mentality, I don't think those guys are going to willingly embrace a tank. I think if the organization wants to do it, they're going to somehow have to drag those guys into it kicking and screaming, and now you risk damaging relationships long-term.
I don't know about the long-term damage in terms of relationship with, Joe Mazzulla. I think the Jaylen Brown stuff you absolutely have to navigate and have long conversations with him. And I agree. I don't think ultimately they're going to wind up tanking because I think the more you listen to Brad Stevens, doesn't feel like that's on the table. My whole takeaway with it and my approach to this, though, would just be looking at it, and I understand what you're saying. They could maybe be a 50. I think 50 wins is
that's probably the ceiling.
Is absurd, but what does that get you as the Boston Celtics? Nothing. What is a season like a 45-win season, 46-win season in the play-in tournament, and you get bounced? What does that get you?
Nothing.
So why not take a year off here if you're going to have it with Jason Tatum and try to actually get an asset that is going to lead to potentially a greater opportunity to win a championship once Tatum and Brown are back together?
It goes back to I'm going to give the same take I gave Patriots-Bills Week 18 last year. Tanking happens from the GM up. There's no incentive for the coach. There's a little more now that he has his contract extension, but there's zero incentive for players to tank. No player is going to willingly be like, you want me to play bad and hurt my value.
No, I want him to be like other NBA. No, I want him to be like other NBA players that are totally fine with taking nights off. Right?
Okay, here's the he hasn't been that guy, and that's been great, and that's part of the reason a lot of people love him. Now you just have to deal with the other side of that coin. I don't think he's going to do that, and you know what? I'm fine with that because when Tatum does come back and they are full go again, you want a guy with that killer mentality. I don't think tanking's a dangerous thing because you let that thing in the door of you don't care about winning, and it can take, and obviously the Celtics have a lot of talent, but it can take a long time to get that out. Look at what happened with the Red Sox. They were supposed to have 1-2 max reset years, and it ruined the culture for a long time.
I find it hard to believe with the history
Celtics
that this team
are stronger culturally than the Red Sox.
It's already established.
But that culture is the reason that I don't think they'll go for it. So you can say it would be better. I'm not disagreeing with you. I just don't think they're going to do it. I don't think it's in their DNA. For better or worse, I don't think it's in their DNA.